I'm Mike and welcome to the workshop. This week I'm going to show you how you can make this simple and sturdy toolbox for less than 10 quid and an afternoon of your time. So let's roll the intro and get into this, shall we? Here on the bench we have all the pieces we're going to need to make this toolbox. So it's all made out of 6x1. We're going to do no changing in the width. So we're going to need 4 at 430 to make our sides, top and bottom, 2 at 118 to make our ends, and 1 at 165. You can make 2 handles out of that, and a piece of piano hinge and a latch. So the piano hinge I think cost me maybe about 2 quid, and I think I got 10 of these for a fiver. So this is not going to be an expensive toolbox. It'll probably cost you in around 15-20 quid. So the first thing we're going to start with here, we're going very basic construction. So we're just going to glue and nail the box together, and then we'll look at splitting that box to give us a lid, hinging and making our handle. So in order to make this a cut-free box, my size are the width of one of these pieces minus the thickness of 2 of them. So line up like that. So I'm going to start gluing and assembling. It really is that quick. We're already into the meat of it once we have the bits cut out. So a good tip I find if you're doing this kind of thing, making a box, is just place one side loose. That acts as your support, holds that end up while you're driving in your nails. So I'll be nailing my top and bottom on here, so I'm just paying attention that I get everything nice and flush. And away we go. So I covered this before. If you drive nail in at an angle, it tends to give a bit better bite, and that's what I'm going to do for all of these. There's one thing here I forgot in my excitement. We'll be cutting this lid off because that's the best way of making sure that a box and a lid match. So I want to mark where that cut is going to be to make sure I don't put any nails there, because my handsaw can cut through timber really well. Steel not so much. And we'll put a backing nail then below that line to make sure that everything is secured. I'm using aged nails here. I have a video that you can look up. I'll probably put the thing up there of how I did this. These are just normal wire nails that have been aged. So that's one side. We'll flip it over, do the same. So that's going to be my top. I'll write that on it so I don't forget. We'll just repeat the same process with the other side. So for the bottom we're going to do 2 things. One, we're going to line up one edge first and then we'll twist it. This will help it square. And 2, we're going to up the nails, screws, up the nails a bit, because this is going to be taking the vast majority of the weight. So I'm going to use longer nails. So I have it nice and flush here. And I made sure to clean off as much glue as I could before I did this, and I'll clean this off before I do the top. And I'll just start with a I'm going to put 4 in this, not to really over engineer it. One here, start one in the middle, which will lock everything down, and then I can do the rest. Now that we have that edge nice square, we can twist everything so it's in perfect alignment, and provided our piece is square, everything else should be. Alright, so our box is nailed together. Now it's time to turn it into a box and a lid. So for this, I've marked down where I need to go. I avoided deliberately with the nails. So I'm just going to mark in 45, make a straight line and follow that all around. I already have my line on my face, so now just to transfer them along my edges so I can do it on the other face. Now I'm using my vise here, but you of course can clamp it, and this is just going to be the same as cutting a normal piece of timber really. We have a line down both faces, and we're going to follow that, just keep working until we're all the way through. There we have it. Two have become one. So the next step is we want to flatten these so they're meeting perfectly. So for that we're just going to need a little bit of sandpaper and a flat surface. So in order to flatten these, we're going to need to make a very simple jig. All I have here is a piece of flat plywood. Using some carpet tape, I'm going to stick these 2 sheets of sandpaper onto this. That'll allow me then to take my top, to take my bottom, and to rotate them on this and sand them down until they're a perfect match. Away we go. Sanding, sanding, sanding. reckon that's good enough. Now, of course, if you have a plane and you have a good scoop, you can use the plane just to attack those high spots, reduce the amount of sanding you're doing here. But trust me, it doesn't take as long as you think, as long as you're careful to keep it on whatever platen you're using. Flatten, not apply huge amounts of pressure, apply it evenly. You will flatten those with a match. And just keep checking. You'll see if you're starting to go off and you can apply a little bit more pressure. But I'm happy with those now. They're fitting together nicely. So the next thing we need to think about is a handle and some ironmongery. So as I showed at the start, we're going to be using this type of latch to close. It's a very traditional type of cabinet latch. I'll show it to you. 2-piece latch, goes over, locks in. The pack of these, I think 10 of them are like £6. The other piece of ironmongery we have here is this hinge. This is a very cheap hinge, it's white. I don't like that, so we'll change that. But there's one little thing I always do with piano hinges, and I'm going to show you. If you look here, you can see the piano hinge is pretty bored, but it has very, very shallow countersinks. And I find that gets in the way. So what I'm going to do is leave a scrap piece of timber here, and I'm just going to increase those countersinks, just using a metal drill bit. The idea of the scrap piece of timber is it stops you going straight down through and ruining your piano hinge. So I think that size will work nicely. Well, let's give it a go. Now, time to do our handle. So I have our little handle template here. We'll just stick it onto our timber. Relatively simple. So I performed one extra step here. In order to help not tear up my paper template, I've just applied some clear packing tape, sellotape, screw it, they're not going to sue me, over it, which should stop the jigsaw tearing this up, and the drill as well. Let's see if it works. So here you have the bones of our handle. All it requires now is a bit of sanding, knock off these edges so it's comfortable to hold. And that'll happen pretty much instantly for you. And after much careful sanding, we have a handle that's going to look good on that box. I've also sanded the outside faces of the box just to clean it up. And I've taped it closed on the front and the sides to get my alignment right. Is now it's time to put on this hinge. Alright, so we're going for the easier option, the piano hinge. We're just going to face mount it. So I'm going to line everything up where I want it, with the center spine in line with the gap. I'm just using my brad awl. I'm going to do 2 little pinholes. I'm just going to use some 4x12, 3.5x12s here, and I'm going to put them in by hand. can see, we have a success. So what I've done here is I've worked out the position of this handle, which will be centered on the top. I'm just getting it to where I'm happy. Now I'm going to mark inside. Well, actually I'm going to mark all around. So this will tell me where my handle is going to sit, and I will then put a true hole here for what we're going to be screwing up into. So this should be fine for the true hole. We'll just drill straight down. I'm also being conscious of the shape of this, so I'm going to come in maybe 10mm from that line, so my screw will go up into the fattest part of the handle. Putting it there as a reference is a good tip. Now I want to temporarily put my handle on, so I'm just going to go back to the old carpet tape here, cut myself off a piece and just stick it down. Now, that'll hold it on long enough so I can drill my pilot holes for my screws, because you don't want to split the handle. Yep, it's nice, comfortable. Now, just to be extra sure, to drop a click. Now for finish. So this is a great vehicle for painting, but I still have some wood stain left over, so I'm going to stain it. And yeah, hopefully it'll turn out nice. Now we have the stain applied. It's time for the return of the old fan favourite, Danish altar.
dollars, which Smith has the skill to take home the title for their.
Right, so we're almost done. Now it's time to add our little catches. So these catches are very typical type of box catch. You have one piece that'll go on the lid, close down on top of the other one, and then you pull down on the lever, locks it all together. So I'm going to mark for these, fits two parts individually, we should be good. So there we have it. A simple, cheap and sturdy toolbox that you can make for less than 10 quid and not much more than an afternoon. So if you like this kind of content, make sure you like, share, subscribe and all that fun stuff. And if you're interested in seeing how far you can push this idea and make it unnecessarily complicated, make sure you tune in next week when I'm going to do the pro version of a wooden toolbox like this with a triangular top, dovetails and loads of unnecessary bits. But until then, thank you for staying to the end of the video, and absolutely do try this at home. Chin chin. Works better if you put on a sanding pad. So this is a great vehicle. I'm going to say that.